This week, we'll discuss the Theurgic foundations of Freemasonry. It's the first in a series. We'll be going through this in detail. What is Theurgy? Is it more than magic? How old is it? And how can we begin to recognize it in our daily lives? Then, we'll take a look at an artifact likely over 70 years old, an original pamphlet for the Illinois College of the SRICF. How much did it cost to join the Rosicrucian Masonic Order back then? What did they value and look for in the people they asked to join? All this and more. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry. Here's your host, Brother Robert Johnson.
Welcome back to the show. This is episode number 702. I want to thank our contributors, fellows, producers, and legacy partners of the WCY podcast. Of course, many of you know we have been doing this show since July of 2011. That's a long time for a podcast. I think we are the longest running Masonic podcast in the history of such a podcast. Anyway, all that to say, this is no small endeavor, requiring hours of work each week on top of what we all have: work, kids, spouses, and, lodge. So if you're out there thinking, how can I help support this Masonic education effort, which benefits all those interested in Masonry, its kindred sciences, that royal art, head on over to our website, wcypodcast.com, click on Support the Show, and check out the various options. Additionally, we have a shop where you can go and pick up a producer's pin, or you can check out the embedded Etsy shop there, which is the WCY Skull Crown Etsy shop. On there, you will find a number of items that I make, leather bags, and occasionally I will resell quality leather bags from companies like Fossil and things, as long as they're vintage. And I will also sell the occasional vintage occult items, so you can check all those out on our Etsy shop. Right there, embedded on the website, wcypodcast.com. All money raised from any sale goes right back into support Masonic education and this program. Very quickly, I want to say thanks to everyone who was able to show up at the Conference of Grand Masters of North America. Wow! What an incredible experience that was. If you ever have the opportunity to go to one of them, to assist, to volunteer, to do something for them, do it. We had a great time. I did my presentation, which was Esoterica in Freemasonry, and it was sort of an address on this topic. We had the entire, Grand Line from Colorado. We had the Grand Master from Bulgaria, members of my own Grand Lodge line, and many, many more were in attendance. And we had for me, the presentation, it was an honor to do, but it was in the conversations that happened afterward. I framed the idea that I would take Q&A afterward, but that it would be more of a discussion, because likely everyone in that room is about education, which is why they were there. And we had a wonderful conversation. So I want to thank all of those who were able to come out to that and who participated. It was fantastic. A couple of notable presentations that are coming up. I have a couple happening here in Illinois. As soon as the details on those gets hammered out, I will post them on the schedule on the website. What I can say now is Midwest Conference on Masonic Education. I will be presenting there, which is April 24th, 25th, and 26th in Omaha, Nebraska, happening at the Scottish Rite in Omaha. You can register to get your tickets at MCME 1949. It is a wonderful time to come out. I will say that our speaker lineup for that conference is rather awesome. What I also should say about this is that the talks that are given at MCME are not your typical type of Masonic education talks. These are largely talks designed to assist those in the process of utilizing Masonic education in their lodges, or how to, essentially. We've got Brother Pierce A. Vaughn. He's doing SWOT, a practical introduction to strategic planning. I'll be there doing a presentation called Stop Guessing, Start Knowing, the Science of Lodge Education. We'll talk about some ways to poll your lodge and figure out how to best do Masonic education for what they're looking for. Brother Robert Marshall will be doing a presentation on the skull and skeleton iconography within Masonry. Brother Chad Kopensky is going to talk about the 3 most dangerous sounds in Masonry, which we had a little bit of a preview about last week on the Masonic Roundtable. We had Chad Kopensky on to talk about John Shearer once more, and John Shearer Part 2. Brother Matthew Parker has graciously agreed to come out to MCME, and you might be thinking, oh, Matthew Parker, the co-chair of education for Nebraska. Nope, not that Matthew Parker, the Matthew Parker from North Carolina. He'll be doing a presentation on public speaking, presentation, projection, and understanding your audience. And then the actual co-chair, TJ Brumfield, will be doing a presentation on the 7 liberal arts and sciences. So they've got a packed weekend. I'll be doing a couple of fun things there, including, if you're coming out on Friday night, at around 7 o'clock, we're going to be doing a sort of homage to Hot Ones. So it'll be yours truly interviewing somebody over hot wings, and we'll go gradually up in the scale of heat. I don't know exactly who I'll be interviewing yet, but we'll have a lot of fun with that. So that's that. And then we have Esotericon 2026, sure to be a fantastic event. They took a break last year. It's back this year. It will be happening June 20th, 2026. Tickets are on sale right now, just like MCME. You can get your ticket for that right now. Also, the Esotericon 2026, the rose unfolds, the cross illumines. It says, this year, the veil parts once more. Esotericon 2026 beckons those drawn to the quiet blossoming of truth within the mystery. Our theme, Rosicrucianism, the path of hidden light, silent brotherhood, and the eternal marriage of knowledge and spirit. The hour has come. Tickets are now available. Step into the circle and walk among fellow seekers as we explore the timeless rose and its radiant cross. In the coming days, the first of our speakers shall be revealed, a herald of insight and illumination for the journey ahead. Now, who did they get? Well, they have announced a few speakers as of right now. The first was Billy Hamilton. He'll be doing something on the tomb of CRC, or Christian Rosenkreuz. Jamie Paul Lamb will be talking occult cosmology. Kevin Homan will be doing the sideline witness. Jason Richards will be doing a practical workshop on Lenormand cartomancy. I'll be there doing the mystic tones of the Rosy Cross. It'll be sort of a interactive presentation with literal tones or sounds related to the Rosy Cross. I believe there is still one more or 2 more speakers to be announced. So we are very much looking forward to that. Again, June 20th, 2026. Tickets for both Esotericon and MCME are on sale right now. I'll have links to both in the show notes, so check those out. This week on the show, I wanted to start a multi-part series, which I know goes up to at least part 4. Our good friend Kristine Wilson-Slack has written a series of articles called Theurgic Foundations of Freemasonry, Part 1. So this will be the first one we dive into, and then after that I've got another article for you, as I mentioned at the top of the show. So first and foremost, before we begin, let us understand what Theurgic means. Theurgy is the operation or effect of a supernatural or divine agency in human affairs, or a system of white magic practiced by early Neoplatonists. Its origin comes from the mid-16th century, so 1500s. It comes from the late Latin, from Greek, theurgia, or sorcery, from theos, God, and ergos, working, so sort of God-workingness. It is also known as divine magic. It is one of 2 major branches of the magical arts, the other being practical magic or thaumaturgy. Theurgy describes the ritual practices associated with the invocation or evocation of the presence of one or more deities, especially with the goal of achieving henosis and perfecting oneself. So, with that, let's get into Theurgic Foundations of Freemasonry Part 1, posted in January of 2024, a little over a year ago by Kristine Wilson-Slack. It begins with a quote. The sun god, Atum, or Atum-Ra, was described as the Ba, which quote-unquote came forth from noon, the Ba, which none created. In these terms, the Ba is a potentiality, which is actualized. According to these statements, chaos produced order. Nun, primordial chaos, generated the god Atum-Ra, who then made the ordered cosmos. This is actually extremely similar to science's version of a Big Bang theory. Randomness, primordial chaos, formlessness, or non-existence, or non-being, miraculously produced its opposite, a formed, ordered cosmos. In truth, science hasn't moved on at all from Egyptian mythology. It has no better explanation for how the cosmos was produced than ancient Egyptian priests spinning mythological webs did. This comes from Think Like an Egyptian, How the Ancient Mind Worked by Steve Madison. This Egyptian myth of creation is not often repeated, and it has no name, but its theme of power and divine magic and duality is, I believe, a principal narrative on the path of humanity's perfecting. To understand this beginning, we first need to comprehend humanity's early understanding of the word divinity and the word magic. To the Egyptians, most especially in the Old and Middle Kingdoms, these two words were synonymous. Magic is the power of divine creation, although its characteristics were not defined in any translated texts. In the creation, noted in the quote above, what was not noted was that in attendance at this divine birth was the god Heka. Heka was considered the power, omnipotence, and wisdom that allowed Atum-Ra to manifest, thus Heka, and Heka meant the same thing, divine magic. Quote, I am he whom the Lord of all, Atum-Ra, made before duality had yet come into being. The son of him who gave birth to the universe, I am the protection of that which the Lord of all has ordained. I am he who gave life to the Ennead of the gods, come to take my position, that I may receive my dignity, because to me belonged the universe before you gods had come into being. You have come afterward, because I am Heka. End quote. From Heka, The Practices of Ancient Egyptian Ritual and Magic by David Rankine. This fusing between the concepts of magic and divinity is a state that the modern mind, with its baggage of the past 300 years, cannot quite grasp. Quote, to appreciate the Egyptian view of magic, we need to accept that to the Egyptians magic was not considered strange or eccentric, but a part of daily life, to which everyone resorted. Magic blended seamlessly with religion and medicine, being seen as part of a holistic worldview. End quote. An example of this mingling is the Egyptian Book of the Dead, or the Book of Going Forth by Day. These papyrus scrolls were placed in the sarcophagus of the dead so they could accurately recite the necessary spells and invocations to commune with the gods, and to make the appropriate responses necessary to ferry their souls toward the afterlife. Spells in this context should not be interpreted as working to further personal gain or create materialistic outcome. These were ritual texts, set as guides to enable the dead to converse with the gods and goddesses and progress the human soul toward its journey to support the continuation of the world. The Egyptians did not see the realm of death, the Duat, as separate from the earthly realm, insomuch as they are one world to be traveled. Both realms were inhabited by the gods and their intermediaries. The only difference is that one involved a body and the other did not. These funerary texts were created around 5,000 years ago and were in use up through the Hellenistic period throughout Egypt and northern Africa. One might say we've gone past the need for that kind of thinking. However, it seems that to understand the genesis of magic in our present construct of Freemasonry, we must understand the syncretic traditions that have been incorporated into our rituals. To understand where we are starting with the idea of magic, we need to be aware that to the ancient human mind, magic and divinity were one and the same. What is the magic we see within Freemasonry? To understand this, we must really look at Freemasonry's mission and purpose. To call universal Freemasonry an esoteric masonry would be very fitting. Indeed, the Universal Freemasonry website has a statement about esoteric Freemasonry. It is as follows. Esoteric Freemasonry is not mere speculation or frivolous imaginings. It is the fulfillment of the work that Freemasonry itself charges us with. Our work is the creation of a universal religion, a solid foundation upon which all human beings can build. This can only be done in unity, and the keys to this unity can be found just beyond the gates that are guarded by the symbols of Freemasonry. To break this down, and for the purposes here of discussing the magic involved in Freemasonry, we can say that esoteric Freemasonry has three unique and specific objectives. 1. Awaken the unused and underdeveloped inner human abilities, so its adherents can understand the symbols, allegory, and patterns delivered in its ritual. 2. Teach its adherents about the cycles of life and death in their small world and the universe as a whole through the process of catabasis. And 3. Stress the importance of the unity of humans and divinity, which is known as henosis, the product of anabasis. These objectives or aims are not done in any particular order or fashion, but are developed through the years of working together in a lodge, where the ritual is taken seriously and executed with thought. Development takes place through contemplation of symbols and using Theurgy, or Greek word meaning God or God-working. Theurgy is also known as divine or ceremonial magic. Theurgy may be seen as a framework of our Masonic ritual. The lessons contained in the three objectives of esoteric Freemasonry are cyclic in nature, much like the upward spiral we see within King Solomon's temple. Thus, they cannot be learned in a linear stream, but by repeated trials and approbations. As we move through this series, it will be important to remember that the modern mind and the ancient mind do not think the same way about cosmology. As esoteric Freemasonry is built on many traditions, including Theurgy, it is important to remember the distinction in the way of thought. From Oxford, we have this definition of Theurgy: the operation or effect of a supernatural or divine agency in human affairs, and a system of white magic practiced by the early Neoplatonists. We will see in Part 2 how the history of Freemasonry is infused with Theurgy in much the same way that the ancient world is infused with magic in everyday life. Kristine Wilson-Slack. A wonderful piece explaining this. I think it has a great foundation to sort of understand where the concept of magic, or what seems to be magic in the waking world that we all live in, how that operates, and its relation to how that was seen by a society, in this example, ancient Egypt, in the funerary texts written over 5,000 years ago. I should also mention that in the definition or the statement about esoteric Freemasonry provided on Universal Freemasonry's website, it mentions the fulfillment of the work that Freemasonry itself charges us with, and our work is the creation of a universal religion, a solid foundation upon which all human beings can build. This universal religion, for those within the Universal Freemasonry system, may be completely different from what I'm going to say, and so I have to caveat that. And that is, when I read this statement, for me, as a Mason under the jurisdiction of the Grand Lodge of the State of Illinois, Masonry does this work as a creation of a universal religion, but not in the same sense of a religion that we would understand it. I would look at this as, for me, the creation of the universal belief of the brotherhood of man under the fatherhood of God, and this is the creation of not just a universal religion, but maybe a universal religion in its earliest concept. So religion, the belief in and worship of a superhuman power or powers, especially God or gods, right? This is the current version. However, if we look at the original meaning of religion, prior to even the 1200s, it is of action derived by Cicero from a term that meant go through again, and literally meant reread or rethink about this. And then later, under Augustine and moving forward, we see that the word is connected to something called to bind fast, via the notion of placing an obligation on. So in that sense, in those two meanings, really from its original etymology, we can say that it is to bind together in a universal bond. And so for me, that's where that comes in. But I really like this piece, and I, again, will continue to read parts 2, 3, and 4, which currently exist, in the coming weeks. So I hope you guys join us for those. The second thing that I wanted to read for you actually comes from a piece of ephemera that I had in a packet of old Masonic pamphlets and papers. What I found was this paper right here. Yeah, so if you hear that, it is a faded red sheet of paper that says Illinois SRICF. This is the Societas Rosicruciana in Civitatibus Federatis, the Masonic Rosicrucian Society in the United States of America. It is a small pamphlet on the SRICF that was published in what I can only think is probably the 1950s. Now, we have done some deep dives on the SRICF, or the Rosicrucian Masonic Order, here in America in a few different episodes, notably from a couple of brothers who wrote for the Midnight Freemasons. Something that is interesting about the SRICF is that it is maybe one of the only prestigious, quote-unquote, prestigious bodies in Masonry that is open to any Master Mason. Now, I know that all over the United States, the SRICF is invitation only. The European counterpart is the SRICA, or SRIA rather, and that is, you can join by petition. The SRICF is a prestigious thing to be a part of, but also it is interesting. Again, it is open to any Master Mason. However, it seems though in many states there are sort of unwritten rules as to who they want in. That is a little bit unfortunate. Some guys think that you have to be a 33rd degree or a 32nd degree Scottish Rite or a KT or, who knows. But the only prerequisite for the SRICF is that they be a Master Mason. So take that for what it's worth. Anyway, let's check out what this pamphlet says about the SRICF. I also will take pictures of this document, and I will post them in our Craftsman Plus group so you can check it out. The Masonic Rosicrucian Society in the United States of America was organized in 1879. It is descended from the first organized body of its kind, which was established in England in 1866 and in Scotland a few years later. Membership in the society is predicated on the aspirant being a Freemason, the members being selected only by invitation. The objectives of the society are as follows. 1. To consider, examine, and record all such matters as may come within the purview of the philosophy of Freemasonry, and those sciences embraced in it, as also those sciences which are akin thereto, with the purpose of obtaining verified truth in place of traditional error, of reconciling any apparent discrepancies between history, myths, legends, philosophy, and sciences, as embraced in the study of Freemasonry. 2. To facilitate the study of the system of philosophy founded upon the Kabbalah and the doctrines of Hermes Trismegistus, and to investigate the meaning and symbolism of all that now remains of the wisdom, art, and literature of the ancient world. 3. To create a base for the collection and deposit of archaeological and historical subjects pertaining to Freemasonry and secret societies and other interesting matter. 4. To draw within a common bond of men, of scientific inclination, and authors who have been engaged in these investigations, and as well as those interested in them, with the view of strengthening their exertions by association, and of placing in juxtaposition the results of their labors for comparison, that Freemasonry may be rendered free from some of the apparently gross contradictions within itself, its sciences, and historical myths. 5. To promote generally true science and the principles of philosophy, proper to the end that the members and those within their influence may be enlightened by the results of these investigations, either by published papers on subjects read and discussed within the society, or by lectures delivered under its sanction or auspices. 6. to revive the good of the life labors of that class of scientists and scholars whose aim and study was what that name of the society implies. The society in any country is governed by a high council, presided over by a supreme magus of the 9th degree elected for life. The subordinate groups are known as colleges, and in the United States presided over by a chief adept, 9th degree, who is titular provincial officer appointed for life. Membership in a college is restricted to 72 active members. Colleges have power to confer the following grades. The first grade, Zealoter. The second grade, Theurgicus. Third grade, Practicus. Fourth grade, Philosophus. And this comprises the first order. The fifth grade, Adeptus Junior. Sixth grade, Adeptus Major. And seventh grade, Adeptus Exemptus. This comprises the second order. The 8th grade, Magister Templi, is an official grade, and the 9th grade, Chief Adept, a provincial grade. They are both conferred by the High Council and constitute the third order. The usual practice in the United States is to confer the first order on the aspirant, advancement in the grades of the second order being given as a recognition for literary effort or services to the society. There are 18 officers of a college, and, excepting the Chief Adept, are elected and appointed annually. Fee, I am inserting a note here that it will now talk about some fees. Keep in mind, these are not the fees they are today. However, we continue the piece. The fee for conferring the first and second orders, $10, and the annual dues is $3, which includes the High Council fee. There are no paid officers. Aspirants are required to submit a Latin motto and a statement that they are not a member of any society using the name Rosicrucian, or considered a Rosicrucian organization, or forms supplied for that purpose. We have no official connection with any other Rosicrucian group, nor do we discuss the merits or demerits of other organizations, but as a matter of ethics, it is not believed that our members should be members of two Rosicrucian organizations. Ours is primarily a Masonic group. There are about 175 members in the United States today, practically all of whom are nationally or internationally known Masonic students or scholars. The Society is not primarily interested in increasing its membership, but is always happy to add to its numbers such brethren whose interest in the Society's aims is sincere, and whom we consider to be in sympathy with the movement. Illinois College, SRICF, chartered December 11, 1934, constituted and consecrated April 24, 1935. Well, there you have this pamphlet on the Illinois Council, SRICF. I am a member of Prairie Land Council, which is another council located in Illinois, and I love the SRICF. But if I can ever answer any questions for you, please let me know. I will post this pamphlet in the Facebook group. If you are a patron or supporter of the show, you get access to that Facebook group. So if you are one of those people and you are not in that group, head on over to Facebook and check it out. I will put a link in the show notes to that Facebook group. And of course, you can request access and just give me a couple days. It might take me a couple days to get to your request to join and verify things. But once I do, you'll be in and you can see everything that's ever been posted in there. I want to thank one more time our producers, fellows, contributors, and legacy partners. Again, if you want to know more about that, head on over to the website, wcypodcast.com. Click on Support the Show and check out all of your various options there, especially on the shop. If you're interested in any custom leather works, whether that be tags or keychains or anything at all, feel free to message me if you don't see what you want there on the shop, and I will be happy to work with you and we'll work something out. I just recently did a Assistant Grand Secretary leather tag for an apron case for the Grand Lodge of Washington. I will post pictures of that at some point and you guys can check out that. It came out very nice, and the brother who commissioned that was very excited and pleased with it. Anyway, that's it for this week. I want to thank you all for coming with me on this edifying journey. I want to thank all of the people listening and sharing the program, and that's it. Until next week, stay on the level. For Whence Came You, I'm Robert Johnson. Take care.
You've been listening to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry with your host, Brother Robert Johnson. Be sure to join us for our next edition.
WCY Media.
Why, that BBS not the map